take it.
All right, good morning, everybody. My name is Marshall. I work for Mohawk Hudson Land Conservancy. I'm the stewardship coordinator, which is a fancy term for basically the guy that manages all the trails and lands and preserves. We have 22 preserves. This is one of them. We have two in this kind of immediate area. One called Ashford Glen up near the airport, and this one Fox Preserve. This is a 70-acre preserve. It was opened in 2017, donated by the woman who lives in the middle of the preserve on a small parcel of private property named Dr. Patricia Fox. That's where the name Fox Preserve comes from. So she still lives in the middle. You might hear her dogs barking at us, but nothing to worry about. My plan today is just to take us up. There's a nice picnic area, a little grassy spot. We can go up there, take a little rest there, and continue walking if we want, or turn around and come back. Today I'm just here to hang out with you guys and get some time out in the sun and nature. I'm happy to talk about trees and plants. I know a lot about that if we're interested, or we can just walk on through and enjoy the views. This porta-john is here for our use today, so please take advantage of it if you'd like. Unfortunately, don't have any water. Linda does have...
I have some bottles too. Yep.
Okay, Linda and Harris here both have a couple of bottles if you need any water. This is Linda in the blue shirt. She's our hike sweep today, so she's assisting if you have any questions. She knows a lot about this preserve as well. And this is Steve, who's with Ecos, and will be leading walks throughout the day, and Harris over there is also with Ecos.
And if the bugs start to bother you, I have some bug spray.
Great. Hopefully it won't be too bad. It might be a little muddy out there, but we'll be careful. And my plan is to be back well in time for the bus pickup. But at any point you feel like splitting off from the group, please feel free. Just let me know so I'm not worried that you got lost in the brush or something. Okay? Any questions before we get started?
No.
All right.
And if anybody's curious, well, we both have copies of the map of the preserve. You want to see what
And what's on the other side?
This is the bike hike trail, which runs from Albany, I guess, all the way through Schenectady.
Oh, okay.
It's an old rail line. It's converted to
In some
pedestrian
places,
bike
yes.
traffic now. Similar to the Helderberg-Hudson Rail Trail.
Oh, all right. So that one goes out to Amsterdam, right?
Yep.
Now all to Buffalo, actually. You could go all the way out to Buffalo, can't you?
I think you can, with the New York Empire
Right.
or Excelsior Trail, whatever. There are so many of those.
The trails tend to connect.
Yeah. This trail does loop around eventually. It splits off between orange and white at some point, but they all connect together and would lead you back out to the other side. If you do get split from the group, that's where you would pop out right over there. So let's get walking. Yeah. So honeysuckle is an invasive shrub. Produces these orange and red fruits. You see it growing all over, and they drop and they produce that kind of sweet smelling, fruity smell. It's a Virginia creeper.
It's slippery, and I slipped, and I think I might fall into the bushes.
You might, yeah. I don't want you to step. So I don't want to linger here too long because the mosquitoes are getting us all. I just want to point out one of my favorite things about these preserves. This preserve in particular is all the walnut trees we have, black walnut trees. This is a really nice specimen right here next to us. Really massive old mature tree. The neat thing about black walnut trees, besides from their beautiful wood, is the fact that they're allelopathic, which means they exude a chemical through their root system that kind of suppresses and pushes out all the other things that might be growing underneath. So it's outcompeting all the other plants around it. That's why it's so open in here. You don't have a lot of other smaller trees. What the chemical that it puts out is called jaglone, and it makes it harder for other plants to grow. It's something really neat about black walnuts. I picked one of the fruits here, one of the walnuts. It's not mature yet, but it smells really neat. In the fall, when these are dropping, they're about twice the size at the most. Have a nice nut inside. It's not very tasty, but it is edible, and you can make a cool dye out of the husks.
Really?
So I'll just pass that along if you want to give it a smell. Very nice. So also watch out in the fall if you're underneath these trees, because those things are hard and they'll hit your noggin. Two species.
Is it edible?
It's not edible. They look tasty though, don't they? Birds will eat them a lot, and that's how the seeds spread so much and they get so widespread, but there's not much nutritional value to the berries, so they're not getting much worth out of it.
What is the name of the tree and the berry?
I'm sorry?
The names of what kind of berries?
It's just honeysuckle berries.
Honeysuckle
As far as
ones,
they might
yeah.
have another name, I'm not
Yeah,
aware.
okay.
Summer we're doing a scavenger hunt on all of our preserves where we have little woodland critters kind of placed about. There's one that lives in this picnic area if anybody wants to try and find it.
Where are we going?
You're listening.
And it's not the dead robin.
Not the dead robin. It is a fox for Fox Preserve. So in the wintertime from this spot we would have a really beautiful view of the Mohawk River, which is right over this rise. Nature preserve, so we have lots of nature getting in the way, of course. But it is a beautiful spot in the wintertime if you're ever up here to relax. This is a great place to have a picnic and hang out, get some peace and quiet. We are close to the airport, so you'll hear the planes every once in a while. But
Which airport? Albany County or Schenectady County?
Yep.
Albany County.
It's just right over there.
People have reported seeing eagles flying over the river. I haven't personally.
I haven't either. Yeah.
Maybe a certain time of day, maybe.
But we are nice and close to it. It's a beautiful view in the wintertime. So this whole preserve used to be farmland, and it was for about 100 years. And And that matters because it really changes the kind of ecology of the area and what kind of plants and trees you might see. So since everything was cut down for such a long time, everything that's grown in since then is very young, except for some of these trees like the walnuts and some big oaks that we'll see later on. Those were usually left right along the edges of the farm fields and the hedgerows, and they weren't cut down, and that's why they're so much bigger. They're kind of the original trees for the area. That's nice. That's a nice burial, thank you. This nice bench that Angela's sitting on. One of them are memorial benches. Somebody's father passed away and they wanted to put a bench out here for him who really loved the preserve. So that's him, Rich Bohm. These benches are made by a neighbor of ours down in Altamont out of trees that he harvests from his property. They're called black locust trees.
Really?
And they're really, really, really rot resistant, which means they can just stay outside for a long time without breaking down.
Don't they make fence posts out of locust trees too?
Absolutely. Yep, same thing. It's very heavy benches, which is nice because people are less likely to walk off with them.
Right.
And they also last a long time. Yeah. I like that walnut.
Just the right size for his hand.
Everybody up for continuing our walk?
Yep.
Keep moving?
Okay.
From a black walnut tree.
And we're sitting on one.
Not yet, but they're going to be. This is sumac. Staghorn sumac. Some people like to soak this in water and make lemonade out of it.
Make what?
Lemonade.
Really?
Got kind of a citrusy
Yeah.
sense to it. But this is
Now
the,
is a good time to harvest it?
I
or
don't
later?
think yet. You want to wait a little while
Feel
longer.
it.
I've never done it myself. So I couldn't really say. I do know that
Oh, it feels like
gives
velvet.
you a lot
Yeah.
of bugs
Yeah.
when you drink it. There are a lot of bugs in these flowers.
Wait, what is that?
Staghorn sumac, it's called.
Yours
It's got these long compound
like felt.
leaves. Okay, so
Feels
this
like
whole
some felt.
piece right here is one leaf, and these are called leaflets. So it has so many of these, it's a compound leaf, versus something like this grape. This is also a leaf, which is called a simple leaf. Simple compound. Staghorn sumac is really fuzzy, just like early deer horns would be. They have a brown horn. Feel that, it's just like the feet.
So soft and nice.
Yeah.
You do have real foxes here.
Where?
Oh, they're hiding. They like to sleep during the day. Oh, no.
It's hiding well. I looked around, but
They're all cottonwood and poplar saplings. They tend to sprout up from one single root system. Form these dense clumps and thickets like this. These are really important for ruffed grouse, which is a ground-dwelling bird. This is their preferred habitat, is this kind of thicket. They like to hang out underneath these branches. It's cool. So if you have a big cottonwood or an aspen, that's what these are back here, the light-colored bark. When they fall down, the roots are activated to send up all these suckering sprouts, just like this. And that's how it replenishes itself. Anything good in there?
Mud.
Yeah, lots of mud. Puddles are fun because you can often see frogs or amphibians in them. Lots of bugs, but they're also really good for looking for animal tracks. That's what we see here. I think we have lots of coyote tracks through here, maybe a few dogs.
It's famous for it.
This is a deer footprint right here.
Really? What about fox? You see any fox?
I don't see any fox.
I guess you have to just get to know them.
There's a wall.
Yeah, they're not very well detailed,
Yeah,
but that deer print is. I thought
that's
that
a
was in
deer
there. This
print,
one.
and what's in there? That's,
Dogs or coyotes.
okay.
So it's really easy
What would
to
you think?
identify
Coyote print from the dog print?
Not much,
if it is popular.
but probably the number
I
of them.
think the end.
And spacing.
I'm making lemonade. All right.
Okay, we're gonna leave.
This beautiful blue flower is chicory, which is a weedy species. You often see it along highways and roads or along sidewalks. Historically, you could dry and grind up and roast the root for this and make coffee as a coffee substitute.
They like to do that in the south.
Yeah,
Just like they use dandelion roots to make coffee too.
absolutely. Yeah.
I hadn't heard that one.
But does it taste like coffee or it just
Mildly.
looks dark color
Yeah,
when it?
mildly tastes like coffee. Down in New Orleans, they still serve a lot of coffee with chicory in it. Yeah. Not as a substitute, but as an additive.
So this little one with the red tips, because I've seen these in my yard and I'm not sure to pull them out or not.
Yeah, these are more of the poplars like we
That's
saw
the
back there.
Okay.
But a number of the saplings will have red tips.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
can tell by that.
Poplars have really flexible, especially quaking aspen like these, really flexible petioles is what the stem of the leaf is called. So when the wind blows, you kind of see up there, the leaves
They go back and
quake a lot, and they have a
Yeah,
silver backside,
yeah,
and
yeah.
that's where they get their name, is quaking aspen.
And this is the goldenrod, or is this going to be the purple loosestrife?
It's the goldenrod.
It is goldenrod. Because I noticed the other day that the loosestrife will show up a bit like that.
Yeah, they do. Loosestrife really grows mostly in wet areas.
Yeah,
In water.
that one. Are these blueberries to the side? Yeah, the number.
Are they edible?
Nope, this is all dogwood.
It's the dogwood.
Yeah, silky dogwood, I think, or silver dogwood, I'm not sure which. Probably silver. Which is a native shrub. We have a lot of it here, which is nice. The berries are not edible, and I think they'll turn red later in the year. We have lots of them, and I think the birds like the fruit a lot. They're pretty. It's also get nice flowers in the springtime.
Looks almost like a mantis. Have you seen those? Big bugs. That have arms like praying.
What are they called?
Anybody know what this is?
Ah. Zane,
Nope, not a fox.
you see the footprint?
It's a creature that does not eat meat, only eat leaves and grass.
Bird?
Not a bird.
Four legs.
Mm-hmm.
Legs.
Those are made by hooves. So it's going to be a hoofed animal. Here, yep, got it.
Right there. See? See there? Right there.
And the fact that I don't see a lot of footprints right next to each other makes me think that the deer was moving pretty fast through this
Yeah.
area, maybe running, so its gait was longer. Right here. Footprint.
I figured that was up him. I did come early.
Well, late summer and fall flowers.
Walked a bit of
They
like
grow all over the place in fields.
wonder about.
These get a lot of blame for allergies in the fall, sneezing and runny nose and itchy eyes. The goldenrod is not to blame. It's usually ragweed that's actually causing the allergies, and the goldenrod is everywhere.
Oh,
You got it.
I was like, well,
Another really beautiful native wildflowers, the black-eyed Susan. Called Rudbeckia herta. My wife's name is Becky, so when she's being rude to me, I call her Rudbeckia. She likes it, so I don't get in trouble.
the red beads are the what?
Alright, we're coming up to my favorite spot in the whole preserve. It's called bee balm because bees absolutely love it. This is in the mint family, so it actually has a square stem like all mint plants do. If you grab one of the stems, you can feel it has 4 sides to it. You guys can come closer. And the leaves smell really good.
So since these black walnuts have that chemical that prevents other trees from growing, how does it reproduce? I mean, besides basically by the seed itself.
Yep, just the nuts.
So then, how come we don't see more of walnuts that
That's a
have
great
dropped
question.
in?
I would guess it's probably because we have lots of deer here, as evidenced by
And
all
they
the-
go for the walnuts.
They'll eat any sapling.
Tender.
No
Or the
one-
sapling, not the walnut. Oh, okay.
So just young trees.
Yeah.
Where is it?
We have a couple of species of bee balm. This is the one that grows in the summertime, this purple one. The other one we have is a deep red and often grows in wetter areas than this. That's called Monarda didyma, scarlet bee balm. This is Monarda fistulosa. It's really rare to see this big of a population these days. I think it's a really neat thing.
Here's where I bought this greenhouse where it's called Sheep Mountain.
Remember what these are? No. You saw one earlier and they smell good. Or they smell strange at least. They came up from these big trees, the black walnuts.
So is the walnut inside black?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And the dye that people usually make is kind of a dark brown.
Oh,
I think that's where it comes from. There's also a white walnut.
Okay.
That's pretty rare these days. It was killed off by a blight, a canker. And the wood is a really dark color,
okay.
very valuable.
So how different are they from the walnuts you buy in the store?
Those are usually English walnuts, so it's a different species. People will grow English walnuts out here in their yards, but they don't occur naturally. And they don't taste nearly as good as the English walnuts. They're a little bitter.
Not quite the same.
Yeah. This is a geum, G-E-U-M.
G-E-U-M.
Yeah, produces these sticky little seeds. They'll stick all over your pants. You walk through them and they spread that way.
It looks a bit like the miter wood,
It does look a lot like underwear, you're right.
but I couldn't find it. I could find the miter wood.
It's taking so long to get it.
I think there are a few species of this, but I'm not sure. That's a black snake root.
Oh,
This one here too.
It's nice.
This is a non-native species, but it's
How do you
not
know?
invasive. Just look at it. But it has these like toothed leaves, coarsely toothed, and opposite branching, opposite leaves like that. Often it'll have these lines on it too. There's an insect that does that, a leaf miner. That gets all those lines on it kind of sporadically. And it produces white flowers. It grows pretty densely.
That's really something.
Is it more of the snake root? There are the lines again.
Is it good for anything?
The snake root?
Yeah.
Not really. It grows pretty densely, and I think it likes shaded areas. So if you like gardening at home, this will grow well in shaded areas.
I think the snake root is the one that is toxic to domestic animals. One of the ones.
Yeah, one of many. Now we watch those. Roxanne, you were asking about native honeysuckle, right?
Right.
One way for sure to identify the non-native honeysuckle is by the tip of the stem, which is the center of it, is always hollow. Look, that's got a hollow stem.
Right, you can see that.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
It's easier to see on some than others, and the larger branches will have a better
We'll have it, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I messed that one up.
It's okay, you can tell.
So none of the
That's
native.
normally how it is.
Necessarily an invasive if it's non-native.
In the case of honeysuckle,
Not
though, it
necessarily,
is.
but honeysuckle is very invasive.
Beautiful.
Here's another invasive. Burning bush.
Oh,
It
yeah,
has
I've seen that.
those winged stems. Winged euonymus, it's also called. And that turns a beautiful
But
bright
you
red.
talking
in the
about how
fall.
this spot is right here?
That's a super common ornamental, right? People get it
is.
for.
Yeah, people still, and it's still sold in stores.
Yeah, yeah.
And it really fills in. It's pretty easy to remove. You can just pull it right up. But it fills in an area quickly.
This called what again?
Burning
bush.
Yes.
My first name, Mick Jagger.
Yeah, right.
Ooh, pretty high up.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think the tree has since fallen down, but Chuck Heffernan, who used to maintain the trails through here, was a neighbor. He passed away this spring, but he liked to come to the spot and take in the view. He said that maybe about 5 years ago he was walking here and saw a fisher cat in a tree. Fishers are large weasels, the largest weasels we have. They're pretty voracious predators. He saw one playing in one of these trees. I think it was this aspen here, this white one, birch rather. And that it was going up the tree and getting into a hollow and coming back out and going down again. He thinks it was maybe caching food or nesting. That is a small stick. You got a good variety.
So is there a creek down there?
The trees
Is there a creek down there?
There is down there, yep. And actually our path is going to take us to the bottom.
Oh, all right.
I like this elevation. You know, I like walking elevation.
Sure.
I bet you do better.
Fisher, that's crazy. Like you never see it. Yeah. The one I'd like to see is the porcupine. He's talking about porcupines in the area, but
You gotta go up the path here. See one for two. biggest red oak trees I've ever seen. Really, really old tree.
Where?
Right there.
The very large one.
How about an acorn? Well, some real.
Yeah, those are coming from that tree. Acorns.
That's acorn.
Those are the caps. I think the fruit has already been eaten, but here's a piece of it.
What?
Oh, there you
Struggle
go.
eating it?
Can you tell what variety of acorn is by the seed?
Somebody can, not me. So, bur oak in particular is a really easy one. It's got these massive, I think it's the top is called carpus. The carpus is really dense and very bristly, kind of like a burr.
A lot of sticks.
And that's the witch oak.
Bur oak.
Bur-
Yeah, you don't see those very often. You've got another invasive shrub, barberry. This also turns bright red in the fall, like the burning bush. This one has thorns on it. And this is one of the biggest culprits for ticks. You have wood that love hang out in here.
Well, remember that. Barberry ticks.
Berberis vulgaris.
I don't remember that. Barberry.
The burning bush, you can just yank it. You'll get some thorns in your hands.
I think it'd be cool to like be somewhere and walk around in there.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
So they just, was it part of the, like on the campus?
These trees behind me are black birch. And unlike many other birch trees, they produce, I don't know what the chemical is called, but it smells just like wintergreen. You want to smell the stem. It'll smell just like wintergreen gum. Right where I rubbed it at the base here.
At the base.
Oh,
Smell right there.
And which
oh my
which
gosh,
tree is it?
yeah.
This one?
That one?
These smooth barks, they have these kind of horizontal lines on it. Here's a really large one behind us.
Oh, okay.
Right at the base.
So that's a black birch.
Powerful, yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Birch beer.
Yep.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Even though it's great.
They grow.
Historically, they grew broom corn.
Broom corn?
Yeah, in the colonial days.
Right, right.
Oh, and then more recently, I think just corn probably.
Just corn?
Yeah. Maybe some vegetables.
Did they have livestock here too?
I'm not sure, but it wouldn't surprise me.
It looks like the sort of topography for livestock more than
Yeah.
corn.
What kind of sets us apart from most old farmlands? You don't see the stone walls.
Yeah, I was surprised I haven't seen a stone wall yet.
Yeah.
When I was a little kid, I thought the Indians actually built those walls. I did not know that it was colonialists. Not too many evergreen trees.
No, this
Except-
is about the only spot.
Yeah.
And some logs, a few pines scattered throughout. A number of spruce planted up top.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, mostly deciduous hardwood.
Some falls up there. Yeah.
Well, it's It's a less enchanting waterfall because it's from a municipal water park.
Oh,
But the effect is still nice.
yeah.
It makes a nice wall and everything.
If you take another one, how much? 50. Another one? 12. Another one?
You gonna clear the path for us?
Yeah, you're doing a great job.
I still have a lot. You want to go near the water?
Watch out, thing.
I want to try swimming banana.
Oh, look at that.
You see the creek, Zane?
Okay. We could drop one stick. Say by 10 sticks. We just drop one. And pick up one. Drop one.
Let's talk about trees a little more because I love to. Anybody know what this tree is? Pine. Do you know what kind of pine?
I should know, but I don't. Is it
It's a
fir?
white pine.
Or is this white pine?
Not pitch, it's white pine.
White pine.
So pines are unique in that their needles grow in little bundles. So when they shoot out from the stick, they grow in little clusters. And a way to tell the trees apart by looking at just the needles is by the number of needles. White pine has 5 to a bundle. Like the word white has 5 letters, W-H-I-T-E. White pine has 5 needles in a bundle. Red pine, 3 letters, 3 bundles. 3 needles in a bundle. White pine is our only superstory species of tree on the East Coast. So it gets taller than any other tree. You often see it in a mature forest, super tall 80-foot trees, and then the white pine goes another 30 feet above that.
Yeah, they say they have some world record pines out in Vermont somewhere. Yeah.
I think
Even in New
state record
Hampshire.
tree is just
Yeah.
the Adirondacks or something.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. They found like a really, really tall one.
I'm going to talk a little bit about adelgid too, because I also love talking about adelgid, which is an invasive insect on hemlock trees. We also have adelgids on pine trees, but it's a native species. It's adelgid, A-D-E-L-G-I-D.
Oh, okay.
And they are really hard to see, but they're these little white spots at the base of the needles.
Yeah.
Little fuzzy things.
Very small.
I'll point some out on the hemlocks too. But these are the good guys. These are good bugs.
Oh, they're good to have?
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Why?
Oh, well, they're not good, but they're not bad. They're just fine. They do their thing.
And they're specific to white pines, right?
Yep, white pine adelgid, pine adelgid. Here's some more actually. There's a lot of more you can see. Kind of like little cottony masses.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Sometimes you'll see a ton of it on a tree. So if you have a big white pine, kind of the armpits of the branches, larger branches, on smooth bark, you'll see huge clumps of white masses, and that's the pine bark adelgid.
Is the woolly adelgid different from this kind?
Yeah, same genus.
Okay.
Actually, different genus, same family,
Okay.
but same concept.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What are they?
They're insects very similar to
They are
aphids. Yeah. So they have piercing, sucking mouth parts that sets them apart, and basically they kind of pierce the tree and suck the sap and carbohydrates. Some spongy moth egg sacs here.
Look, the egg sacs.
Ooh.
There's eggs in there. Little insect eggs. What is that?
So these love oak trees, these caterpillars.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there's a caterpillar.
But these are not like the caterpillars, like the gypsy moths
Same
that,
thing.
oh, they are.
Yeah, they renamed it a couple years ago to be more politically correct.
Okay, let me ask you then. So do they destroy all the leaves
Yes.
like the gypsy moths used to, or whatever it used
Yeah,
to be
so
called?
they're
And not just
naturalized now,
Uh-huh.
which means that they've kind of struck a balance with the ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll emerge every 4 or 5 years
Mm-hmm.
and have this cycle of 2 years, 3 years of like heavy defoliation on the trees.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are some fungus and bacteria that impact them and kill them off after that 3-year mark.
So they still make that big glob of nest where they all come out of?
Unless you're thinking of tent caterpillars.
Yeah, tent
Yeah,
caterpillars.
that's a different.
So that's different.
Oh,
So gypsy moth and tent are completely different.
Yeah. So this is the gypsy moth, formerly known as gypsy moth, now called spongy moth. This is the egg mass for that.
That's egg mass. Oh, okay. And do you have tent caterpillars here?
You know, I wouldn't be surprised, but I have not seen it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. At least it's not an issue yet. What's that?
I haven't seen the tents.
Yeah.
I was always thinking that the gypsy moths and the tent caterpillars were the same thing. So I was surprised. Well, we have gypsy moths. Why are there no tents?
I'm surprised that's the first time that's happened.
What?
Grab my sunglasses. The spongy moth loves oak trees. We have a few species of oak tree right here. We saw the big red oak up top. Red oak, you can tell just from the bark what kind of tree it is. It has this kind of zebra striping to it. You know, gray plates with the dark stripes going up the top. Vertically, kind of like zebra stripes. Whereas white oak, which is right next to you here, is more flaky. Doesn't have that striping and coloration at all.
Now, does the bark change in some trees depending on how old they are?
Yeah.
So I know some of them like actually smooth out, and other ones develop these ridges through age.
Which is why I hate to tell trees by bark.
Yeah.
Pines are out there. Oaks are pretty consistent throughout the age. Obviously, the stripes will be kind of further apart.
Right.
Yeah, white oak flakes get a little tougher.
It looks like a red Betty walnut.
Yeah, I saw one by your hand. I was like, I'm not going to say anything. Let it get you.
This is called shaker tree.
Ooh, Micah, be careful. Micah.
That's the weird people.
Named so for the shakers that originally, well, not originally, but lived here and for themselves.
There was a shaker community here?
Yes. Oh, I don't know if there was one right here. But
In their general area. What's the name of that creek that goes down there?
This is Shaker Creek.
Oh, that's Shaker Creek?
Yeah,
Oh,
goes right
okay.
into the Mohawk.
And where does it originate? Do you know?
I'm not sure. I don't think very far up there.
Oh, okay.
Near the airplanes.
Another red spider.
Yeah, they're really heavy. I'm gonna do a poison ivy talk somewhere around here. Here's the barberry again.
Marshall?
Yep.
Can we see where we were standing before from here?
Once we get a little further up. That's a little overlook, you mean?
Yeah.
Barberry has this really cool bright yellow stem, especially in the root system. It's a good way to identify it if you're ever curious when you're seeing that. But it's pretty distinctive and thorny, and the leaves are pretty obvious. You'll have one to mistake.
While we're here, stay to the path because there's barberry. I was thinking this place is great because there's no poison ivy, and there it is.
Yep, so I want to talk about it. If you guys want to come up here, I'm going to talk about something pretty important. So watch your step.
Yeah, stay on the path here.
Stay on the path here. Has anybody had poison ivy?
Yeah.
When I was a little kid.
Sure. So it's pretty awful. I'm just getting over it now. I've got some scars from it.
Yeah.
This is it right here. Leaves
Saying,
free, let
can
it be.
you
That's
point
what
out
they
what's
say.
poison ivy over there? Don't touch it, but you can point with a stick.
So this is a plant that if you touch it, it's going to make you really itchy. Really, really itchy. It gives you a big rash. So it's best to just leave it alone whenever you see it. Now, it's a good reason to stay on trails, especially in preserves like this, because poison ivy loves disturbed areas where people are spending a lot of time. Poison ivy only affects people. Only people get rashes from poison ivy. Animals don't. Nobody else does, just us.
Is it true that Native Americans did not ever get poison ivy affected them?
No, they did get poison ivy.
They did?
Yeah. I asked a professor who specializes in them once what they did about it. And he said they smeared bear grease on them.
Really?
Themselves.
Bear grease?
Bear grease.
So be careful with that stick. So if you touch poison ivy, it has this oil, this oily substance that's really sticky. It'll get on you, and that's where the rash comes from. It's
Yeah,
called
I see what it
urushiol.
Now, is that a vine or a bush?
It's a vine.
It's
Actually,
a vine.
Both.
we have two species. Often it's vining and will grow up.
Grow up trees
and
usually.
The vines, when they're old, are really hairy looking.
Right, right.
And even the vines, even in the winter, will give you the rash. It's best to just
So can you get poison ivy also from the touching the vine?
Oh,
Okay.
yes.
Yep, absolutely. There are a lot of lookalikes to poison ivy.
And Zane, you can get poison ivy by touching the end of your stick there, so you might want to.
Yeah, so
I might want to get a fresh stick after this. Has anybody learned sign language? Anybody know the sign for turtle?
Is it? That's it.
Sea turtle, I think, is ASL. So I like to do this because it helps me remember what poison ivy looks like. It has 3 leaves and they have these little thumbs on it. So the middle leaf has 2 thumbs, like that. And then the side leaves each have 1 thumb. So that helps me remember it. So if you look at this poison ivy, it's got 2 thumbs there in the middle and then 2 underneath. So just do a sea turtle if you ever forget. Some of the lookalikes, and something we have all over the place here, it's very similar, right? But this has 5 leaves instead of 3. This is Virginia creeper, another vining plant, but it won't give you the rash. That's a good one. This is a maple, which also has thumbs. So that looks very similar, but this is a tree, so it won't be vining and growing low like this. So it's just good to keep an eye out. Poison ivy varies a lot in the way it grows, where it grows, what it looks like. It's always best to just be cautious. If you don't know what it is, don't touch it, don't eat it.
Leaves of 3, leave it be.
Yep.
Do you have poison sumac here too?
You know, I think we do. It's native, but I've not seen it.
It's supposedly only growing in very wet spots. So I tend to figure if there's nothing wet around the sumac, then it's probably okay.
Now those trees down there have that green colored marker on there. Is that a purpose for that?
I think that's just our boundary.
Well, that's a boundary marker.
We didn't mark that. I think the neighbor did. But yeah.
So in other words, they're claiming the creek, huh?
I guess so.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's fine. We can accept that. This is the other evergreen tree that we have here, the other conifer, is eastern hemlock, Canada hemlock, also known.
Is that the one that they used to peel the bark and made the turpentine out of?
Absolutely, tannins.
Tens.
Tannins for leather, yeah. Yeah, there was a really heavy industry in the Catskills.
I know in the Catskills, like that was like devastated, all those hemlocks.
So eastern hemlock is the world's most shade-tolerant tree. Native here, all the way up into Canada and down to Georgia, I believe. This is also our longest living species of tree in eastern North America. These can live up to 900 to 1,000 years old.
Wow.
They're imperiled by hemlock woolly belcher.
Right, right. So basically, once they peeled the bark, the tree actually died, right?
I assume in the way they did it was by girdling the tree, probably taking as much bark as they could. And when that happens, that'll kill the tree.
Right, right,
If you just took a strip from one side, it would probably be
You'd probably
okay,
be all right.
depending on the season.
Right, right, right.
Yeah, the girdling is a sure thing, a sure way to kill it.
Well, what was girdling again?
Girdling
Cutting
is
all the way around.
basically
All the way
circumference
around.
of the tree.
Oh, okay.
So if you ever want to kill a tree without cutting it down,
Right, right,
you can do
right.
that. to peel the bark off all the way around.
I was watching a show do that just the other day. I'm trying to remember where.
The girdling?
Yeah. Do that in Portugal?
They do that for cork a lot.
The nourishment is from the bark, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that those cork trees are in Spain and Portugal.
What we have a lot of here is the Chinese bittersweet, Solastris orbiculatus.
See that all over my yard. I'll be yanking them.
Yeah, you just can't win.
I know.
Bittersweet.
Yeah, we've been seeing it this whole walk. I waited until now to point it out because this kind of begins where our management has taken place. Each year we come through and do a big pack and pull of this stuff. Got these kind of like egg-shaped leaves, and it's binding, very easy to identify. Usually produces green fruit that turn orange in the fall. We're going to see a ton of it moving forward. And I'll point out some spots where we've actually tried to cover that. There's a snake. Don't tell her. What's that little girl?
What'd you see?
Saw a garter snake down this way. He's gone now. Moving down the hill.
I think I was trying to see it, but I can't
There's
see
this
it.
down branch. He's underneath that in the ferns.
Let's see.
Harass it too much. Oh, he's too quick. He's gone. A garter snake.
What's the difference between garter snake and the garden snake?
It's the same thing.
The same thing?
Yeah, I wondered about that
Yeah.
too.
Steve, this is probably the only chance we'll really have to see, but that overlook is up there.
Okay, just wanted to point it out to the kids.
We might be able to see it a little further. I think that's pretty good. Some May apple?
Oh.
I'm looking to see if there are any that have fruit.
Does that one have a fruit? I saw one before.
There, I don't see any on it. So, Mayapple has kind of a 2-year life cycle. 2+ years, I should say. The first year it just produces 1 leaf. And the second year it produces 2.
Which is the mayapple? The
This
one
one
I
right
thought
here.
is a Virginia creeper? So it's not a Virginia creeper?
Not Virginia creeper, but it looks a lot like
Oh.
it. It's this one right here.
It's just bigger.
Yeah, really
Okay.
large palm leaf leaves.
Mayapple.
More of it back
I did
here.
have it. Yeah.
So it's called Mayapple because it produces a fruit that looks a lot like an
Yeah,
apple.
right there.
Yeah, that is.
Hello, thing.
They're supposedly delicious,
Oh.
but you have to eat them at exactly
Only when
the
they're
right
ripe.
time. Otherwise, they're toxic.
Unfortunately, when they're ripening, they're green, and when they're ripe, they're green. So,
Oh.
so I've never tried to eat one.
They're
know
also the
when they're
favorite
ripe.
snack of
Mayapple.
foxes. Foxes always get the fruit before anybody else, and that's why they're so hard to find.
It's just bigger. Huh. Oh, wait. Now I see the difference. It's not separated.
Yeah, here's a real,
Yeah.
really big
It's not
Virginia creeper
separated.
drawn right over that Mayapple. Oh, it's so somewhere.
Yeah.
Oh, there's fruit.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
So it looks like it just stopped flowering. It's got the flower bud on the base.
Oh, that was late.
So the fruit is developing.
Hi.
And yeah, it's a good ways from being ready to eat. It's pretty slick through here too. There's the overlook again. So does everybody know about emerald ash borer?
Heard of them.
It's an invasive beetle, the larvae of which burrow in ash trees, which is this one right here. This is a very dead tree because it's been infested with emerald ash borer, aka EAB. A good way to tell emerald ash borer is by looking at what's called the galleries of the larvae, which is basically their track as it eats through the wood. The galleries of emerald ash borer have this kind of serpentine path where they're just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, moving up and down the tree. You can really see that here.
I don't know. No, just the camera. Just getting in close to.
Yeah.
If this tree wasn't dead, I wouldn't be able to pull the bark off this easily.
And you wouldn't want to.
Yeah.
So this is a real problem because, especially in this area where we have a lot of the bittersweet growing, the trees are dying, becoming weak. Bittersweet is growing right up them, putting all of this weight on this dead tree, and then the tree wants to break and fall because ash isn't that strong of a tree to begin with. So it makes it pretty dangerous on our trails. So we've been working really hard to get rid of this stuff, cut down ash trees where we have dead ones like this, and remove the bittersweet when it's coming up. So a good way, by far not the best way, but a good way to get rid of bittersweet, that vine, is by cutting it where it emerges from the ground, pulling the root system out if you can, just like a weed. You do that, cut it down low, and then you cut it up again high, about 3 or 4 feet above where it emerged, and make this gap from the ground. If you were to just cut it at the base, yes, the whole thing would die, but the roots would resprout and just go right back up the vine that it had grown the previous year. So by getting rid of that bottom section, you just make it a little harder for it to grow up again. So you'll see a lot of these vines kind of cut off at eye level as we move down the trail. This is a hawthorn. It's in the rose family, apple family. Makes these big thorns and spikes. This is a good one to know just so you don't go hugging it.
Right.
What did you
After
say
today.
it was again?
This is a hawthorn tree.
Oh, the hawthorn.
Yeah, got these really big
I got it.
spines.
Take a picture of that.
Here's a hawthorn fruit. Looks a lot like an apple or a rose hip.
I've only heard about
What kind
that.
of spider is that? With the nose?
Oh, daddy long legs. Oh, I know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but these are pretty nasty guys.
These are natural trees to this area.
Something to keep a good eye out for if you were walking through the brush. I got one of these all the way through my finger once. Like an inch through. It's not fun. Here's some of the bittersweet fruit coming in. Again, that'll turn orange, yellow in the fall. We do have a native bittersweet that's pretty hard to distinguish, but it's very uncommon in comparison. And the fruits and flowers have a different kind of color variation. Or it'll be like orange with yellow versus yellow with orange.
Right.
I still haven't learned the difference because I've never seen American bittersweet.
I'm sure you know these.
I think that's Avens, Steve. Yellow Avens, A-V-E-N-S. Another hawthorn growing here. It's got a lot of moss on it, and I think that's probably because it just doesn't get things crawling all over it all the time, but the moss can actually establish in the bark. Because it's got all those spines to protect it.
Oh, right.
Another beautiful walnut tree.
Get the head so people can get closer to it. They do have dramatic limbs.
They really do. I just like to take it in every once in a while. It's so beautiful. This plant right here is late stage Dame's rocket.
Oh, yeah.
Dame's rocket is that beautiful pink, purple, white flower that you see in the spring, April usually, April, May.
The ones where you touch them and, no, James Rocket, it's sort of,
Oh no, I think they're thinking of jewelweed, the seeds. Pop.
yeah.
There was some jewelry a little ways back. But
Oh, really?
I haven't seen much of it.
This is in the mustard family, Cruciferae. And you can actually eat the foliage, apparently. It's kind of spicy. Don't take my word for it, though.
And what kind of weed is this?
This is a raspberry.
Raspberry. Oh, okay.
Some fruit on it yet.
This is raspberry.
Joe Pye weed coming up.
Which one's the Joe Pye?
You see down low is that the tall pink flowers? Yeah. If we see any closer, I'll point it out.
What is it called?
Joe Pye.
Joe Pye?
Joepye.
Oh.
And what is the name of that weed that comes up after you had a major forest fire? Is there flowers?
Burnweed? What, fireweed?
Yeah, I mean, it has beautiful, beautiful flowers, and like after a while, like it can't grow anymore. It just only grows after a major like forest fire.
That might be it. Are the flowers white or yellow?
White, yellow, pink, sometimes also.
Yeah, I'm not sure. My first guess is burnweed. But
Excuse me, you said that was called Dame what?
Dame's Rocket.
Dame's Rocket.
You ever heard of an app called Seek, Roxanne?
Seek did
I
not
might
work well
have.
for me at all.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It works right.
PlantNet's a little better.
It's
Yeah, Platinum.
oh, really? There's only one for me. These are apps that you can put on your phone and just point at a plant and it'll tell you what it is.
PlantNet, I think I have.
Oh, okay.
But I'm taking your word and typing it in as I speak.
Oh, thanks. I'll take that.
I'm getting low.
Lots of people aren't allergic to it.
I know, like my father wasn't. My father could go through it like nothing, but my mother like broke up just looking at it.
And what about you?
In the middle.
Yeah.
I do know, or at least I should say I know, that the more exposure you have, the more sensitive you become.
The opposite of what you'd expect.
Yeah.
But also it can change with age
Mm-hmm.
and then change back. I know I was once very susceptible, so I'm not counting on age.
Right, right.
It's still very bad.
Right. It's a blackberry, right?
You got it. Soon I'll move past that and
Yeah.
I think the kids into this one and they'll find it interesting.
Guess I'm taking it away.
Does anybody like blackberries? Raspberries?
No, I love blackberries.
We've got some
Blackberry,
growing right
raspberries,
here.
blueberries.
It's one of our native
Ooh,
berries.
there is more.
These are fruits you can actually eat when they're ripe. You can eat them when they're not ripe, but they won't be any good. And if you can beat the birds through them, they're really yummy and they produce this beautiful blackberry. Often they get much bigger than this. This is kind of a sorry one. But we have quite a bit of it through here. Keep your eyes out. If you see some that are that color, you could eat it. I'm not telling you to eat it, but you could.
This one?
It's very seedy. Yeah. And if you're not allergic, but I don't think that's right.
What is it?
Blackberries.
And the blackberries are the ones the teeth they're for, and the blueberry and the black raspberries the ones that the core comes out.
Yeah. Black
I keep trying to remember that, but if it's an either or for me, I switch them back and forth, and it doesn't help.
Be careful though, they get very thorny. They don't like people touching them. Keep your eye out as well. You'll see a lot of those. I'll point out the raspberries too if you see those.
Are there any elderberry trees around in this area?
We definitely have them in the area.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of any at the preserve.
I know people make ink out of it, and also like when it flowers, people like fry it up like a pancake.
The
type of
flowers?
thing. Yeah, the flowers, the white flowers.
Oh, I should do that.
But when it fruits, they use it for ink.
Showed up. I haven't seen because the paths were like this or even worse.
You gotta break it into groups at that time.
What is this again?
What's another golden
Golden. What is it? Looks different than the other one.
So this looks a lot like a sunflower forming, but it's actually a doll. There are wasps that cause it.
What's that? Really? That's why it's growing like that. That's not a flower.
You know, you usually see them like that.
I have seen that. That's why I didn't recognize it as that thing.
And then the wasp egg churs in there and grows. And the golden rod protects it.
And they're usually wasps, so you want to destroy them.
Well, they're native.
Yeah.
They're not stinging wasps.
Oh, they're not? Oh.
So how do you know they're not stinging?
I'm sorry?
How do you know they're not stinging wasps?
They're in the wasp family, but they're not like nest-forming wasps with that stinging.
Because I know. What about the wasps that make their nest in the ground?
Hornets, yellow jackets.
Okay, and the ones that make that out of paper. That's yellow jackets, right?
Yellow jacket, they're paper wasps. There are a few. Yeah, ants are in the wasp family.
Really? I know. Yeah, they do bite. Yeah, they do bite.
Well, the honeybees make the barky things, don't they?
Who do?
The honeybees? Yeah, I was gonna say.
Native honeybees often nest in the cavities.
Yeah, cavity of the trees.
Yes.
I wanted to point out these trees next to us, these dark bark trees. These are black cherry trees, and they're not black cherries like black cherry soda, unfortunately. They do produce fruit, they're not good. But it's a really beautiful native tree that we have, and they get really tall and really big. These are pretty young specimens, all considered. You can identify them by the bark. People often say it looks like burnt potato chips. It's pretty flaky. One of my favorite trees, black cherry. The timber is really valuable.
Yeah,
This
cherry
is
timber.
St. John's.
I think we'll see another one along the trail a little further out. Yeah, even right there on the corner. Shrubby St. John's.
Flowers are much smaller than that. We squeeze the flowers, they produce this purple pigment.
Yeah.
You can just barely see it on the tip of my
Yeah.
finger. The larger flowers make it
Of
get a really
what?
nice. It's just this purple pigment that
No, what is the plant?
St. John's wort.
Oh, that is? It looks different than the one I have.
Yeah, there are a few species. I think this is the shrubby,
There's a larger
shrubby
one a
St.
little way
John's
back.
wort.
And I found some on the bike path.
So we're getting close to our pickup time, and I'm starting to lose my voice, so I won't talk too much more. But this is one of our native peanuts. It's called groundnut. It's a legume just like the peanuts you'd eat peanut butter from. It's just 3-leaved. Again, 3 leaves, but not poison ivy. You can see it's growing all over here. It used to have a derogatory name. It was hog peanut. Called so because Native Americans would harvest the vegetable of it.
Oh, this is the one that's laying in the path?
This one right here.
Okay.
Yeah. So they produce underground tubers that are edible.
And very hard to
Where is it?
It went very fast that way, so I assume it's not its own.
What's it?
A garter snake.
Oh, yeah. So what time is the bus stop?
Here's a neat tree that you don't see often anymore. This is an elm tree.
There was a biting check
A lot of these trees died off for a fungus that moved through Dutch elm disease. These used to be planted along residential streets very commonly. You can identify them most easily because they have these cool root systems.
Right.
It's called buttress roots. They flare out like that.
Yeah.
The bark is also good for making baskets, I've heard. There's another one behind us here.
Is it bad?
Kiss? I didn't catch the name.
Elm.
Oh, this is elm?
A bug bitten.
But these also where you cut the vines off so it doesn't keep going.
Yep, that's another bittersweet vine. This is what the bittersweet looks like when it gets a little bigger. And they'll get even bigger than that.
It's been there a while.
Yeah. Do they actually choke the tree or not? They do.
Muddy puddles. You missed a snake. There was a snake.
Girdling.
Oh, they do that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Tighten up and around.
Is that the house you were talking about?
Oh no, it's up this way.
Oh, that's somebody else's house.
Yeah, her house is right in the middle.
Right.
Sweet spot.
So she has like an easement through the Land Conservancy.
Is that where the doctor lives? That house right there?
What's up?
Is that where she lives? That house right there?
No, this is our neighbor Brian. Dr. Fox lives up that way. We actually went all the way around her house.
What's that?
Yeah, just like that.